أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل يا أيها الكافرون لا أعبد ما تعبدون ولا أنتم عابدون ما أعبد ولا أنا عابد ما عبدتم ولا أنتم عابدون ما أعبد لكم دينكم ولي الدين. Salawat. As for the translation, in the name of Allah, the most beneficent and the most merciful, say, O unbelievers, I do not serve that which you serve, nor do you serve him whom I serve, nor am I going to serve that which you serve, nor are you going to serve him whom I serve. You shall have your religion, and I shall have my religion. Salawat. Brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum. Congratulations to everyone once again on the holy month of Ramadan. Inshallah, we may benefit from this to the maximum. At this time, I would like to invite Sheikh Mahdi to ascend the member. 5 more minutes? Okay. Before I invite Sheikh Mahdi to the member, a couple of announcements. Inshallah, next Saturday, Sheikh Mahdi Rastani will be holding a workshop here at CFK after the program. The workshop will be on proper moon sighting, with questions being answered such as why are there two Eids, how to read a proper moon map, the rulings of the Maraje, as well as going over the different controversies. Inshallah, that will be next Saturday after the program at CFK. Please note that right now there is fundraising going on. This is for a school in Iraq that, alhamdulillah, last week during the Ziyarah trip to Iraq, many members of the Dallas community were able to visit. The Madrasa Al-Rahim, an initiative recently started by the Al-Zahra Center for the Development in Karbala by the Zahra Trust. The school is a school for orphans and the less fortunate in Iraq, which provides education to those who would otherwise go without it. By partnering with the Zahra Trust this Ramadan, Dallas Youth is raising money to be donated towards the school. When donating, every penny counts and makes a difference in the lives of those who need it the most. You can donate at the following website, www.justgiving.com/page/Zunair. The Dallas Youth will be matching 100% of the donations up to $1,000 made till midnight tonight. Please take advantage of this great opportunity during the holy month of Ramadan. Please mention publicly you are a member of the Dallas community for your donation to be matched. Please, a reminder for registration for attendance. Our objective at CFK is to serve all of our guests adequately while being morally responsible by minimizing wastage. We thank you for doing your part in helping us achieving this objective and pre-registering using the links present on our WhatsApp and email announcements. We require your help to maintain our tradition of no active fundraising. Please consider sponsoring iftars during the holy month of Ramadan. We also request you to consider becoming sustaining members with recurring monthly contributions. Sponsorship slots are available online and updated every week at cfkdfw.org. As a reminder, our event details are posted on our webpage and our WhatsApp group. On our website, you can sign up for our newsletter, find the QR code to join our WhatsApp group, and donate and sponsor for different nights. For opportunities to help behind the scenes, or if you have any questions, please speak to myself or any of the volunteers. Please note some upcoming programs from the Dallas Youth. There will be a Sisters Lock-In on March 24th from 10:30 p.m. to 1 a.m. at the Dallas Youth Lounge. This will include ping pong, pool, video games, and more. This is geared for middle school sisters ages 11 to 16. To register, please register at the website www.dallasyouth.org/sisters. There will also be another Sisters Lock-In on April 7th at 10:30 p.m., also at the Dallas Youth Lounge, but this will be geared towards the elder sisters ages 16 to 28. Please make sure to sign up in advance at www.dallasyouth.org/sisterslockin. The Dallas Youth will also be hosting a Sisters Iftar for the ages of 14 to 28. This will be held at the Dallas Youth Lounge this upcoming Tuesday. This will be held on Tuesday, April 18th at 8:15 to break our fast together. To sign up for this, please go to dallasyouth.org/iftari. At this time, I'd like to invite Sheikh Mahdi to ascend the member and honor us with a speech with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Brothers and sisters, if you could make your way close to the member, as there are anticipated to be a high volume people coming in today.
Mess around with it. Recite a salawat, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajjil farajahum. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي لا يبلغ مدحته القائلون ولا يحصي نعماءه العادون ولا يؤدي حقه المجتهدون الذي لا يدركه بعد الهمم ولا يناله غوص الفطن الذي ليس لصفته حد محدود ولا نعت موجود ولا وقت معدود ولا أجل ممدود أما بعد فقد قال الله الحكيم في محكم كتابه الكريم أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم فقلت استغفروا ربكم إنه كان غفارا يرسل السماء عليكم مدرارا ويمددكم بأموال وبنين ويجعل لكم جنات ويجعل لكم أنهارا صدق الله العلي العظيم صلوات اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. For the love of our beloved Prophet and his beloved progeny, a second loud salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. For the hastening in the return of our beloved 12th Imam, a third final loud salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. We were discussing the story of Nuh, and we reached this point of the connections that the Ahlul Bayt made between the story of Nuh, the long life that Nuh lived, and the story and the life of our beloved 12th Imam. When you have an Imam who's living for more than 1,000 years, or you anticipate that he's going to live for more than 1,000 years, and you have a prophet who's lived for 2,500 years, it is natural that you will try to draw parallels and connections between the stories of these two. And therefore the narrations told us the same way as people are waiting for the Imam to come, the 12th Imam to come back, it was very similar during the time of Nuh as well, because for many years Nuh was telling his people that God's decree was going to come, God's punishment was going to come. He was going to save the disbelievers or the believers, he was going to punish the disbelievers. But the people looked and waited and nothing happened for many, many years. And as we'll discuss tomorrow, this carried on for more than 100 years, 200 years. Imagine a prophet is telling you for hundreds of years that God's decree is going to come, and you keep waiting, and you keep waiting. After 50 years, 100 years, you say, well, it's probably not going to happen anymore. So the Imam says this is exactly what the followers of the 12th Imam will feel when they are told that he will come back one day. But every morning they wake up and he's not there. And they're told again that he will come, he will come. And many other connections that were drawn between the story of the 12th Imam and the story of Nuh alayhi salam. And we said that what makes these connections so special is that the characteristics that Nuh had were extraordinary. These were characteristics that not any messenger of God or any normal servant of God would have. First of all, he was considered to be a chosen servant of God, and the Quran speaks about this in Surah Al Imran. The second characteristic of Nuh is that he was a thankful servant of Allah. إِنَّهُ كَانَ عَبْدًا شَكُورًا. Everything that Nuh did, he'd raise his hands and thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for those blessings. The third characteristic of Nuh is that when he saw his society moving in the path of corruption, he isolated himself. And so the narrations say that he used to live in the mountains and he used to eat from the trees and the plants of the mountains as his food. He did not used to socialize with people because of the negative impact that they would have on his spirituality. And number four, and finally, is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given a salam to Nuh that he has not given to any other messenger of God. This is why the Quran says, Salamun ala Nuhin fil alameen. Salam to Nuh on behalf of all of the nations who've ever lived on earth, because Nuh was the first to plant the flag of Tawheed, the first messenger to bring about a faith and a religion. This is Nuh, the special characteristics that he has. But on the other side, you had the people of Nuh and the many issues and the many stubbornness that the people of Nuh had. That's why the verses of the Quran say, إِنَّهُمْ كَانُوا أَظْلَمَ وَأَتْقَى. They were more wrongdoing, they had the most injustice, the people of Nuh. And this is why the Quran consoles the pain of our Prophet by reminding him of the difficulty that Nuh had to go through with his own people. This is where we ended our discussion yesterday. Tonight, inshallah, we'll delve into how the prophethood of Nuh began, and beyond that, the other phases of the story of Nuh. And in order to do so, we'll pose the following questions. Number one, what is the story that narrations tell us behind the beginning and the start of the prophethood of Nuh alayhi salam? Number two, which members of the family of Nuh ended up believing in him? And which members of his family ended up disbelieving in his message? Number three, what are the benefits of istighfar and turning back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Nuh used to speak of to his own people to encourage them to come back to the right path? Number four, does every human being sitting here, watching online, wherever you might be, does every human being have one time set for his death? Or is the reality that every human being has 2 times set for his death? And depending on his own actions and depending on what he decides to do, he has the opportunity to shorten or lengthen his own life. Number five, who are the mala that the Quran refers to? This upper echelon of society that the Quran refers to as those who used to object and oppose the message of Nuh alayhi salam. Number six, what were the objections that the people of Nuh had to his message? And what lessons can you and I learn from those objections? And number seven, and finally, what was the message that Nuh gave to his people when his people asked him to turn away and disregard and kick out of his ummah the poor people of his ummah? What was his reaction to this suggestion that they gave to him? Tonight, inshallah, we'll delve into these 7 questions with a loud salawat ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. We begin our story from here. The people of Nuh were a people who already had idols as part of their lifestyle. And these idols, the narrations tell us that in fact they used to be idols of good servants of God that some of their forefathers started to make. And because their forefathers had made these idols of the special servants of God, over time it became part of their culture that they would worship the idols themselves. They would worship these statues themselves. This is in Ilal al-Shara'i', Shaykh al-Saduq narrates this from the 6th Imam. And this narration is part of the reason why you find in our faith, some of our scholars have issues with someone building a full human-like statue. This is why scholars, many of them, have restrictions on this issue. Some of it comes from this narration, that this was the cause that eventually led to these people looking at these statues and starting to worship them out of their ignorance. This was the people of Nuh. Nuh already saw this. The narration says Nuh was isolated from his people. He was out in the mountains. He used to eat from the plants and the trees. The narration says one day Jibreel came to Nuh. Found him isolated, sitting in the corner. He said, Nuh, why are you sitting here? He said, you see my people? They don't believe in God. They are corrupt people. They have the wrong customs, wrong beliefs. I've separated myself from them. I don't want to be a part of their customs, their practices. Jibreel turned towards him, and Nuh doesn't know this is Jibreel yet. He's going to find out a little bit later. Jibreel turned towards him. He said, why don't you go and oppose their belief system? Why don't you go guide them to the right path? You're just sitting here. He said, I don't have the power. Jibreel looked at him. He said, what if I gave you the power? What if I gave you the knowledge? What if I gave you the ability to go and bring these people to the right path? And Nuh said, that would be wonderful. Wa shawqah. That would be wonderful. I would love that. So Jibreel turned towards him. He said, I will give you that power. I will give you that ability. So Nuh, looking at him, said, Man ant, who are you? You're saying you're going to give me this power. Who are you? You're going to give me a power to go up against my own society with thousands of people who don't agree with the lifestyle that I have, with the belief system that I have. Who are you? And the narration says Jibreel turned towards him and he gave out a loud sound, a blast, a sayha, the narration says. And the ground started to shake beneath the feet of Nuh. And with this call from Jibreel came the response from all of the other angels of God, who said, Labbaik, Labbaik, Ya Rasul Rabbil Alameen. We are at your service, O messenger of the Lord of the worlds. This messenger is not the prophet. This is the angel Jibreel who brings the messages of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The narration says Nuh's heart trembling a little bit. He said, who are you? He said, I'm Jibreel. I am the friend and the acquaintance of your two fathers, Adam and Idris. I've come to bring you this mission. The narration says he turned to him. He said, here is the clothing of knowledge. Here is the clothing of victory. Here is the clothing of prophethood. And here is the clothing of patience. What are these clothes? We don't understand. These are metaphors, of course, yes? But these are things that Jibreel is now instilling into the heart of Nuh so that he's able to go and speak to his people. The narration says he left. He came to his people. On a particular day, they had an Eid, they had a celebration. Of course, their celebration is full of corruption. Their celebration is a place where people come, they're worshiping the idols, wrong practices, so on and so forth. He came, with him he brought his staff. This staff was a special staff that Nuh had. The staff would speak to him and tell him of the things that his people would hide from him, the narration says. He came to his people, thousands sitting there, the heads of the tribes sitting there. He called out in their presence. He said, La ilaha illallah. And the narration says the ground started to tremble beneath the feet of those who were worshiping the idols. They turned around. 70,000 turned around. Said, who's this? He said, I'm Nuh. I am the servant of God and the son of the two servants of God, Adam and Idris. And I am the messenger of God. I am bringing his message to you. And immediately, these people who were the heads of the tribes, they started to deny, even though the ground was shaking beneath their feet a couple minutes ago. They say, you can say whatever you want to say. We have our own idols. We have everything. We already have our society. You're creating corruption. You're creating problems. We're fine the way we are. The one person who heard the call of Nuh and believed in him was a lady by the name of Amura. Who was Amura? Amura was this lady who would end up being the wife of Nuh. She heard the call of Nuh. She saw the ground trembling beneath her feet. She saw the call of one man reaching 70,000 people. Immediately she believed in Nuh. Her own father turned on her. Her own father said, you don't have the right to believe in him. He said, didn't you see what he just did? The earth was trembling beneath our feet. His voice reaches he's a messenger of God. They said no. They imprisoned Amura for a whole year and she made it out. When she made it out, Jibreel told Musa alayhi salam or Nuh alayhi salam to marry Amura. And Amura became the wife of Nuh. And hence, when we talk about the wife of Nuh not believing in him, the son of Nuh not believing in him, this is because he had multiple wives and he had multiple male children, of course. One of his wives ended up being Amura, very much believing in him. Another wife of his, Ra'i'ah, ended up disbelieving in him. One of his sons, Canaan, disbelieved in him. 3 other male children believed in him. This is how the prophethood of Nuh is now going to begin. But just because you come and you call La ilaha illallah doesn't mean people are going to set aside their stubbornness. Now they're going to bring their stubbornness to the table. Now they're going to bring their objections. Now they're going to bring their arguments that are more like excuses. And this is the part you and I have to learn. Because you and I raise these same excuses sometimes as well. This is the part we have to learn. What did the people of Nuh say? Let me make sure I don't end up saying the same stuff that the people of Nuh used to say. Recite a salawat, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Nuh came to them. He said, my message is simple. 1, you have to only worship God. You can't be worshiping all these idols. Okay, this one was an easy one. Number 2, he said, you've been living your life like this your whole life. That's fine. Now's the time to come back to the right path. So he put something in front of them called istighfar. Asking God for forgiveness, coming back to the right path. And he said this, these are now the things he's saying to encourage his people to come back to the right path. He said, فَقُلْتُ اسْتَغْفِرُوا رَبَّكُمْ. Ask for forgiveness from your Lord. إِنَّهُ كَانَ غَفَّارًا. He's very forgiving. In our words, we say, he's just waiting for you to come to forgive you. You know someone who really wants to do something, what do we say about him? We say, this guy's looking for an excuse to do this. Nuh said, God is looking for an excuse to forgive you. Just come, do istighfar. This istighfar we do, brothers and sisters, hopefully we do it in this month of Ramadan, yes? This istighfar, it takes a couple moments, but everything around you changes when you say these couple words. You say astaghfirullah, you think, oh, nothing changed around me. I didn't see any angels, no one came and wiped my head, nothing happened. Yes, that's because you're material, I'm material, we don't see these things. When you look at Islam, they say no, the moment you say istighfar, you say astaghfirullah, you go from one side to the other side. You completely changed who you were. You were born again. You're not the same person anymore. You're completely different now. I say, wait a second, I just said astaghfirullah. I just asked God for forgiveness. So yes, that's the power of istighfar. This is why the narration says when a believer does istighfar quite often, when the angels come to take his book of deeds to the heavens, the book of deeds goes up to the heavens and light is emanating from it. The angels look at this book of deeds. What did he do? He constantly does istighfar. Istighfar, brothers and sisters, we use the Arabic terminology for it. The simple way of looking at it is righting your wrongs. And if we lived in families and in communities where we learned to right our wrongs after we've done someone injustice, our communities would look very different from the way they look today. I'm slowing down the content here because it's very important. God doesn't expect you and I to be perfect. That's not his expectation. He does expect that when you realize something is wrong, to come back and say, I'm sorry, I want to fix it. I want to right my wrong. Imagine if you lived in a family where the husband lost his cool or the wife lost his cool, lost their temper, yelled at other people in the house. But imagine what type of household it would have been if 2 minutes later they came back, they said, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done this. Imagine what this household would be like. I'm not talking about a household where everyone is perfect and ma'soom and infallible. No, that never happens. But imagine you lived in a household where you did something wrong and then you didn't wait 10 years later to come and ask for forgiveness. Immediately you came and asked for forgiveness. Imagine you had bad akhlaq. 2 minutes later you said, you know what, I had bad akhlaq. I'm not supposed to be like this. I apologize. Imagine you laughed at someone, but instead of waiting 10 years, immediately afterwards you say, you know what, this person made this joke. In the moment I laughed. Now I realize I shouldn't have laughed at you. This was a way of making fun of you. I shouldn't have, forgive me. You know how different things would have been? You know how life would have been different? You know how relationships would have been different? You know what happens when you go a year, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years without righting wrongs? You dig that hole more. You dig that hole more. You dig that hole. You're all the way at the bottom of the hole. Then after 15 years, you say, well, I'm sorry. What are we supposed to do now? After 20 years, you say, I'm sorry. What are we supposed to say now? There's always hope. But imagine if you came and asked for forgiveness immediately. This is why the Prophet, everywhere he went, istighfar was just part of his vocabulary. You know, like we get up, right? Now when we're older, yes, I'm speaking of myself. When we're older, you get up, you're like, you make sounds when you get up, yeah? This is a sign of you hitting 30 and above. Is when you get up, you just make random sounds. There's no reason for it. But you know, some of you are more religious, you might say something religious, but for those of us who are not very religious, we make random sounds, yes? The Prophet, part of his vocabulary when he would sit, when he would get up, was istighfar. So the narration in Al-Kafi says, he wouldn't sit down anywhere and get up unless he would do istighfar 25 times. Small gathering, yeah? You sit down with someone for 10 minutes. Part of that 10 minutes, the Prophet used to do istighfar 25 times. This is the Prophet now, but what can you and I do? We can do it once. We can do it twice. Istighfar. Nuh said, people come, innahu kana ghaffara. He's looking for an excuse to forgive you. But he didn't stop there. He said, you know what else he will do? If you do this istighfar, he will also forgive your sins. Everything you've done up until now, gone. You will be completely pure if you come back to the right path. First benefit of istighfar. They didn't do it. He went on. He said, listen, let me tell you even more. Because the people of Nuh were a people of the dunya, Nuh had to tell him of the benefits of istighfar in the dunya. He couldn't come to them and say, listen, if you do istighfar, God will love you. It's like, what benefit is that for? I don't care if he loves you. So Nuh had to come to them with benefits of worldly things. So he went to the worldly things as well. These are also part of the benefits of istighfar. He said, listen, number one, he'll forgive you. You don't care so much about that, huh? Okay, number two, وَيُؤَخِّرَكُمْ إِلَىٰ أَجَلٍ مُسَمَّى. And he will prolong your life until the marked deadline. What is Nuh talking about? Every human being does not have one moment set for his death. This is a misconception you and I have. Every human being has 2 times for his death. He's the one who chooses when he's going to die. Every human being, 2 times for death. There's one time, it's flexible. You can move it around. You can play around with it. You can bring it closer. You can push it back. Then there's a second time of death. That one, fixed. You can't do anything with it. Yes? This is ajalin musamma. It is marked. You could be the best person on earth, you're going to die at this point. You could be the worst person on earth, you're going to die at this point. 2 times. He said, listen, if you come and do istighfar, God will delay your death to the later one. You'll live longer. Come do this. And the narrations tell us of multiple deeds in which a human being does that he plays with with his own life in this world. Narration says you do something, years are added to your life. Narration says you do the opposite of it, years are taken away from your life. So the 6th Imam has a beautiful narration. The doctors will not be very happy when they hear this, because it goes against their profession. Technically it doesn't, but the 6th Imam said, more people die through their sins than they die through the natural times of their death. He said, more people leave this world early, not because of their health necessarily, because of their sins. And then the Imam said the opposite as well. And he said, more people live long because of their good deeds than their natural time of their death. What can I do to prolong my life? Istighfar is one of them. Silatul Rahim, visiting relatives, checking up on relatives. What is it in Islam and with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and relatives? I don't know. But it's very important for him. You try to maintain your relationship as much as you can. Now sometimes it's not possible, very difficult, this person has terrible akhlaq, all that kind of stuff. You have the ability, you have the permission to manage your relationship with that person. We have this in Islam. But at the end of the day, you can't cut off 100% from a relative. You can't act like he's a stranger, not even say salam to him, not even talk to him, not even communicate with him. It's not allowed in our faith. Silatul Rahim increases your life, yes? And amongst those things that increases your life is sadaqah, charity. So the narration says, Isa alayhi salam was walking somewhere one day. As he was walking, he saw a group of people. It was a wedding. Yes, groom, bride, everything. It's a moment of joy and happiness. As he was walking, he turned to his companions. He said, you see these people happy? Tomorrow when we come here, this place of joy and happiness is going to be a place of sorrow and sadness. Say, why? Ya Ruh Allah. Why? What happens? He said, because this bride is not going to make it till tomorrow. She'll pass away. They walked on. Yes? It's the messenger of God. He walked on. They came the next day. There's no black banners. Everyone is still there. Everyone is still happy. Yes, we had the wedding yesterday. Perfect, yeah. We have all this extra food. Yes. Alhamdulillah, no problem. They said, Isa, you said she was going to die. He said, yes, she was supposed to die. Unless she did something to prolong her life. Let's go ask. They went in the house. The bride came. Isa asked her. He said, did you do anything yesterday? She said, yes. After everything was said and done, there was food. A faqir, an orphan, came to the door. Instead of keeping the food for myself, I gave it to this faqir. Isa said, this is why you're alive. He said, go lift up that comforter you have where you sleep. She lifted it up. There was a snake. Isa said, this was the snake that was supposed to take your life. But the sadaqah of yours saved you. Nuh said, come, do istighfar. يُؤَخِّرَكُمْ إِلَىٰ أَجَلٍ مُسَمَّى. He will prolong your life. Because let me tell you something, and this is the rest of what Nuh said, إِنَّ أَجَلَ اللَّهِ. The time of death. When it comes, it doesn't get delayed one moment. لَا يُؤَخَّرْ. Doesn't get delayed one moment. If he's supposed to die when he's taken his 10th step, that's when he's going to die. The people of Nuh, they were in a different world. Recite a salawat, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. They didn't listen to Nuh. Nuh went on. He said, listen, okay, you're going to be forgiven. You didn't care. Your life was going to be prolonged. You didn't care. Let me add to it. وَيُرْسِلِ السَّمَاءَ عَلَيْكُمْ مِدْرَارًا. He will open the doors of the blessings of the skies. Rain will come down on you guys. They didn't listen. He said, وَيَجْعَلْ لَكُمْ وَيُمْدِدْكُمْ بِأَمْوَالٍ وَبَنِينَ. He will make you wealthy. He will give you children. Yes, He will do all of this. وَيَجْعَلْ لَكُمْ جَنَّاتٍ. He will give you gardens. وَيَجْعَلْ لَكُمْ أَنْهَارًا. Springs of water. What else are you asking for? But the people of Nuh couldn't really care about this stuff. Now here's the interesting thing, because now the people of Nuh are going to come back to him with their objections. Right? They're going to raise their arguments. Here's the thing. The Quran never says the people of Nuh raised this objection or that objection. That's not what the Quran says. The Quran says, فَقَالَ الْمَلَأُ مِنْ قَوْمِهِ. The mala from his people. Who are the mala? The mala is a Quranic terminology meaning the upper echelon of society. The 1%. The elite in society. Somewhat you can say celebrities might even fall under that category. They were called the mala from the root word of mali, meaning the one that fills up something. Yes? Because they were mala, they used to fill up the eyes. They used to come with their wealth. They used to come with their glamour. Yes? They used to come with all their shininess. People, they stood out to people. Whatever they said, people would follow. Whatever they said, people would listen. Does that ring a bell in our society? Are there celebrities today? They say things, people just follow? Could be the worst thing on earth, they say. Doesn't matter. People look at them. They are the mala. They come with their glamour. They fill the eyes of people. Most times when there were people objecting to the prophets, the Quran doesn't say فَقَالَ النَّاسِ. It says فَقَالَ الْمَلَأ. There was an upper echelon of society. They were the ones who were raising objections. They raised their first objection. They said, Nuh, we can't believe in you. Why? مَا نَرَكَ إِلَّا بَشَرًا. You're just a human being. If God was on your side, there should be angels here and miracles, and you should be wealthy, and God should come in, swoop in, and solve everything. But you're just a human being. You deal with the same difficulties we deal with. If God's really on your side, where are His miracles? We already know you're a prophet. But show us His miracles where He's going to send armies from the skies. And this is exactly what people used to tell our prophet as well. وَقَالُوا مَا لِهَذَا الرَّسُولِ. What's wrong with this prophet of ours? يَأْكُلُ الطَّعَامُ وَيَمْشِي فِي الْأَسْوَاقِ. He eats food like us. He comes to the bazaar with us. This is not how a messenger of God is supposed to be. A messenger of God, God is supposed to swoop in, take care of all of his problems for him. Miracles, angels will come do his stuff for him. But the Quran was very clear about something. There's a lesson to learn from this. The Quran was very clear about something. When we send these messengers, they deal with the same issues you and I deal with. You know the same everyday issues that you and I deal with? What are the everyday issues you and I deal with? This person says something about you, you feel sad. So why did this person say this about me? Yes? This person accuses you. Your wife says something. Your husband says something. Your children may not be doing everything properly, perfectly. Yes? Brings sadness into. The Quran says this is how our prophets were too. You go through difficulties. I put my greatest servants through these same difficulties. The household of the prophet, there were fights, there were arguments in it. Now yes, the prophet is a messenger of God, so he doesn't fight the way we fight. He doesn't argue the way we argue. He has adab, he has manners, yes. He has the patience that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted to him. But the others, they're normal human beings. God didn't send some other angels from the sky to live with the prophet. The prophet dealt with the same issues you and I deal with. So when we go through difficulties, let us look back on the prophet and say, Ya Rasulullah, if you went through these same things, I can go through them too. I'm not better than you. They said, Nuh, we can't believe in you. You're just a normal human being. If you were a messenger of God, God would have come in and solved everything. And Nuh said, no. God puts these problems for the believers to struggle through these problems. There's problems for you to struggle so that you can grow in this process. Can He solve all of them all at once? Yes. Does He want to? No. He wants you to struggle. He wants to see what you're going to do about these problems. He wants to see when your wife says this, when your husband says, are you going to be patient with her or him or not? This was objection number one. They moved on to objection number two. Objection number two was what? They said, Nuh, we love your message and everything, but there's one other problem. The problem is the people who follow you, they are poor people. We can't follow a religion if these people who are at the very bottom of the classes of society are following you. So Nuh, we have a suggestion, and this suggestion, word by word, was made to our Prophet as well. We have our suggestion. Here's the suggestion. Get rid of them. We'll believe in you. We don't want to associate with this lower class of society. Yes? We don't want to sit with the poor. You come here, sit with the poor, share a meal with them, you do all of this stuff. That's not what we want to do. We want to have our own thing. We want this religion to be ours. Yeah? We want it to be all shiny and fancy and nice and only for us. The poor people, get rid of them. So Nuh had two responses to them. Two. The first response that Nuh gave to them, he said, listen, why is it that your relationship with God is so tied to what they're doing? In hisabuhum illa ala rabbi. Whatever the poor people do, they believe in me, disbelieve in me, whatever that's between them and God. Why is that stopping you from believing in me? So Nuh knew this was an excuse. But what were his people doing? I'm not going to believe in you because this person is like this, because that person is like that. Do you and I do that? Oh, we do this all the time. Why don't you practice this faith? Oh, because there are some other people, they practice this faith, yeah? They have an outwardly religious appearance, but they're hypocrites. Okay, wonderful. He's a hypocrite. What does that have to do with you? Why don't you observe this dress code? Because I saw this person observes this dress code, but has bad akhlaq. Okay, that's him. That's her. What does that have to do with you? Why don't you come to the masjid? Because there are people who come to the masjid, they don't truly practice the religion. Okay, that's them. In hisabuhum. Hisab is on God. That's between them and God. Okay, what does that have to do with you though? Never allow the relationship that someone else has with God affect your relationship with Him. There's people in our community, they act like hypocrites. They act like they follow the faith, but in reality they don't. I'm not saying there isn't. In every community, in every society there is. What does that have to do with you though? That's my question. Oh, this person, he prays, but he has bad akhlaq. Okay, so you pray and don't have bad akhlaq. What's the problem with that? Nuh said, listen, what they do is on them. God is going to hold you accountable. This is why the Quran says, وَلَا تَزِرُ وَازِرَةٌ وِزْرَ أُخْرَى. No one carries the burden of another person. You can't sit there and say, oh, I ended up like this. You know why? You know why I didn't learn about my faith? Well, because there were people who discouraged me a lot, so that's why I didn't go. Doesn't work. You're responsible for yourself. They ask you about yourself. Oh, my parents didn't do so much for me. Okay. But could you have done something for yourself? Yeah, I could have. I just didn't want to. You can't do that. وَلَا تَزِرُ وَازِرَةٌ وِزْرَ أُخْرَى. No one is going to carry your burden for you. Nuh said, no, this is not going to fly. Second response that Nuh gave to them. Second response. Nuh told them, you know what? There's a bigger problem. You guys tell me to turn these people away, kick them out, disregard them, ignore them, so on and so forth. Yeah? Because they're poor, lower class of society, less fortunate, all of this kind of stuff. He said, yeah, that's what we want. He said, but there's a bigger problem. وَيَا قَوْمِ, my people, مَنْ يَنْصُرُنِي مِنَ اللَّهِ إِن تَرَدْتُهُمْ. If I disregard them, disrespect them, will you protect me from God's punishments? If I get rid of the poor servants of God, will you come protect me when God is going to send His punishment on me? What was Nuh saying? Nuh was saying, listen, it's one thing to turn away a servant of God. It's another thing to turn away a less fortunate servant of God. This second one is very scary. Saying, listen, you don't understand. The moment I say no to these people because they are poor, God's punishment can come any second. I'm afraid. I would never do that. Are you going to come save me? You're not going to come save me. God's punishment is going to come on me. So the narration of the 8th Imam says, inshallah we'll continue on this point more tomorrow. The narration of the 8th Imam says, he says, if a believer comes and he sees a poor believer and he greets him differently from the way he greets the wealthy believer because of the lack of wealth, because of this reason. He will meet God on the day of judgment and God will be angry with him. They said, Nuh, kick them out. And Nuh said, I could never do such a thing. God's punishment immediately could come upon me. Tomorrow, inshallah, we'll continue with this portion of the story of Nuh. Let's take a moment to recite Surah Al-Fatiha for all of those who have worked hard, the volunteers, all of those who sponsored during these days and nights, and especially the sponsors of tonight's program, with a loud salawat ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
Brothers and sisters, if you'd like to make your preparations for Salat, we'll start with Maghrib Salat.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن عليًا ولي الله أشهد أن عليًا حجة الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله أشهد أن عليًا ولي الله وأنه حجة الله صلوات الله عليه حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد كذلك الله ربي. الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على
Inshallah, let's recite the dua all together. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا علي يا عظيم يا غفور يا رحيم أنت الرب العظيم الذي ليس كمثله شيء وهو السميع البصير وهذا شهر عظمته وكرمته وشرفته وفضلته على الشهور وهو الشهر الذي فرضت صيامه عليه وهو شهر رمضان الذي أنزلت فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان وجعلت فيه ليلة القدر وجعلتها خيرا من ألف شهر فيا ذا المن ولا يمن عليك من علي بفكاك رقبتي من النار فيما تمن علي وأدخلني الجنة برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
Brothers and sisters, just a few announcements. First and foremost, that Dua Iftitah will be at 9. Please, after Isha Salat, if you can stay seated where you are, the Dastakhan will be brought to you. And this year we're trying something a little different to accommodate the elderly. There will be a Dastakhan for them in the back as well. So once again, if you could please stay seated where you are after Isha Salat, the Dastakhan will be brought to you.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله أشهد أن عليا ولي الله وأنه حجة الله صلوات الله وسلامه عليه حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر الله أكبر سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر أستغفر الله الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد كذلك الله ربي الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
الله وملائكته يصلون على
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم أدخل على أهل القبور السرور، اللهم أغن كل فقير، اللهم أشبع كل جائع، اللهم اكس كل عريان، اللهم اغذ دين كل مدين، اللهم فرج عن كل مكروب، اللهم رد كل غريب، اللهم فك كل أسير، اللهم أصلح كل فاسد من أمور المسلمين، اللهم اشف كل مريض، اللهم اشف كل مريض، اللهم سد فقرنا بغناك، اللهم غير سوء حالنا بحسن حالك، اللهم اقض عنا الدين وأغننا من الفقر، إنك على كل شيء قدير. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. Inshallah, ziyarat will be after the dua.
Brothers and sisters, if you could help us wrap up, inshallah we will be starting Dua Iftitar at 9 p.m. Per Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat.
Assalamu alaikum.
I came just to hear your voice.
What? You were asleep?
No, I opened with my family today.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
Although I heard the food today was fire.
It was good. It was good.
One more salawat, please. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إني أفتتح الثناء بحمدك وأنت مسدد للصواب بمنك، وأيقنت أنك أنت أرحم الراحمين في موضع العفو والرحمة، وأشد المعاقبين في موضع النكال والنقمة، وأعظم المتجبرين في موضع الكبرياء والعظمة. اللهم أذنت لي في دعائك ومسألتك، فاسمع يا سميع مدحتي، وأجب يا رحيم دعوتي، وأقل يا غفور عثرتي. فكم يا إلهي من كربة قد فرجتها، وهموم قد كشفتها، وعثرة قد أقلتها، ورحمة قد نشرتها، وحلقة بلاء قد فككتها. الحمد لله الذي لم يتخذ صاحبة ولا ولدا، ولم يكن له شريك في الملك، ولم يكن له ولي من الذل، وكبره تكبيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. الحمد لله بجميع محامده كلها على جميع نعمه كلها. الحمد لله الذي لا مضاد له في ملكه ولا منازع له في أمره. الحمد لله الذي لا شريك له في خلقه ولا شبيه له في عظمته. الحمد لله الفاشي في الخلق أمره وحمده، الظاهر بالكرم مجده، الباسط بالجود يدا، الذي لا تنقص خزائنه ولا تزيده كثرة العطاء إلا جودا وكرما، إنه هو العزيز الوهاب. اللهم إني أسألك قليلا من كثير، مع حاجة بي إليه عظيمة، وغناك عنه قديم، وهو عندي كثير، وهو عليك سهل يسير. اللهم إن عفوك عن ذنبي، وتجاوزك عن خطيئتي، وصفحك عن ظلمي، وسترك على قبيح عملي، وحلمك عن كثير جرمي، عندما كان من خطئي وعمدي أتمعني في أن أسألك ما لا أستوجبه منك، الذي رزقتني من رحمتك، وأريتني من قدرتك، وعرفتني من إجابتك. فصرت أدعوك آمنا وأسألك مستأنسا لا خائفا ولا وجلا مدلا عليك فيما قصدت فيه إليك فإن أبتى عني عتبت بجهلي عليك ولعل الذي أبتى عني هو خير لي لعلمك بعاقبة الأمور فلم أر مولا كريما أسبر على عبد لئيم منك علي يا ربي إنك تدعوني فأولي عنك وتتحبب إليها وأتبغض إليك وتتودد إلي فلا أقبل منك كأن لي التطول عليك. Oh Allah, you kept coming towards me. You kept trying to kindle this bond with me, and I keep walking away from you as if you're the one who needs this relationship and I'm the one who's needless towards this relationship, and in reality it's the other way around. فلم يمنعك ذلك من الرحمة لي والإحسان إلي والتفضل علي بجودك وكرمك فارحم عبدك الجاهل وجد عليه بفضل إحسانك إنك جواد كريم. الحمد لله مالك الملك مجري الفلك مسخر الرياح فالق الإصباح ديان الدين رب العالمين. الحمد لله على حلمه بعد علمه والحمد لله على عفوه بعد قدرته والحمد لله على طول أناته في غضبه وهو قادر على ما يريد. الحمد لله خالق الخلق باسط الرزق فالق الإصباح ذي الجلال والإكرام والفضل والإنعام الذي بعد فلا يرى وقرب فشهد النجوى تبارك وتعالى. الحمد لله الذي ليس له منازع يعادله ولا شبيه يشاكله ولا ظهير يعاضده قهر بعزته الأعزاء وتواضع لعظمته العظماء فبلغ بقدرته ما يشاء. الحمد لله الذي يجيبني حين أنادي ويستر علي كل عورة وأنا أعصيه ويعظم النعمة علي فلا أجازي. فكم من موهبة هنيئة قد أعطاني وعظيمة مخوفة قد كفاني وبهجة مونقة قد أراني فأثني عليه حامدا وأذكره مسبحا. الحمد لله الذي لا يهتك حجابه ولا يغلق بابه ولا يرد سائله ولا يخيب آمله. الحمد لله الذي يؤمن الخائفين وينجي الصالحين ويرفع المستضعفين ويضع المستكبرين ويهلك ملوكا ويستخلفه آخرين. والحمد لله قاسم الجبارين مبير الظالمين مدرك الهاربين نكال الظالمين صريخ المستصرخين موضع حاجات الطالبين معتمد المؤمنين. الحمد لله الذي من خشيته ترعد السماء وسكانها وترجف الأرض وعمارها وتموج البحار ومن يسبح في غمراتها. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. الحمد لله الذي يخلق ولم يخلق ويرزق ولا يرزق ويطعم ولا يطعم ويميت الأحياء ويحيي الموتى وهو حي لا يموت بيده الخير وهو على كل شيء قدير. اللهم صل على محمد عبدك ورسولك وأمينك وصفيك وحبيبك وخيرتك من خلقك وحافظ سرك ومبلغ رسالاتك أفضل وأحسن وأجمل وأكمل وأزكى وأنمى وأطيب وأطهر وأسنى وأكثر ما صليت وباركت وترحمت وتحننت وسلمت على أحد من عبادك وأنبيائك ورسلك وصفوتك وأهل الكرامة عليك من خلقك. اللهم وصل على علي أمير المؤمنين ووصي رسول رب العالمين عبدك ووليك وأخي رسولك وحجتك على خلقك وآيتك الكبرى والنبأ العظيم. وصل على الصديقة الطاهرة فاطمة سيدة نساء العالمين وصل على سبطي الرحمة وإمامي الهدى الحسن والحسين سيدي شباب أهل الجنة. وصل على أئمة المسلمين علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والخلف الهادي المهدي حججك على عبادك وأمنائك في بلادك صلاة كثيرة دائمة. اللهم وصل على ولي أمنك القائم المؤمل والعدل المنتظر وحفه بملائكتك المقربين وأيده بروح القدس يا رب العالمين. اللهم اجعله الداعي إلى كتابك والقائم بدينك استخلفه في الأرض كما استخلفت الذين من قبله مكن له دينه الذي ارتضيته له أبدله من بعد خوفه أمنا يعبدك لا يشرك بك شيئا. اللهم أعزه وأعزز به وانصره وانتصر به وانصره نصرا عزيزا وافتح له فتحا يسيرا واجعل له من لدنك سلطانا نصيرا. اللهم أظهر به دينك وسنة نبيك حتى لا يستخفي بشيء من الحق مخافة أحد من الخلق. اللهم إنا نرغب إليك في دولة كريمة تعز بها الإسلام وأهله وتذل بها النفاق وأهله وتجعلنا فيها من الدعاة إلى طاعتك والقادة إلى سبيلك وترزقنا بها كرامة الدنيا والآخرة. اللهم ما عرفتنا من الحق فحملنا وما قصرنا عنه فبلغنا. اللهم المم به شعثنا واشعب به سدعنا وارتق به فتقنا وكثر به قلتنا. This is the part of the dua where we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by the rights of the 12th Imam that He blesses the followers and the ummah of Islam by bringing their affairs together. اللهم المم به شعثنا واشعب به سدعنا وارتق به فتقنا وكثر به قلتنا وأعزز به ذلتنا وأغن به عائلنا واقض به عن مغرمنا واجبر به فقرنا وسد به خلتنا ويسر به عسرنا وبيض به وجوهنا وفك به أسرنا وأنجح به طلبتنا وأنجز به مواعيدنا واستجب به دعوتنا وأعطنا به سؤلنا وبلغنا به من الدنيا والآخرة آمالنا وأعطنا به فوق رغبتنا. يا خير المسؤولين وأوسع المعطين اشف به صدورنا وأذهب به غيظ قلوبنا واهدنا به لما اختلف فيه من الحق بإذنه إنك تهدي من تشاء إلى صراط مستقيم. Oh Allah, bring back your 12th Imam so that you can bring guidance to those matters that are a matter of dispute amongst people. So when the 12th Imam comes, those things that are a matter of dispute and confusion amongst people is clarified. Like we mentioned the other night in the lecture, at that point either you accept the truth or you stand against the truth. وانصرنا به على عدوك وعدونا إله الحق آمين. اللهم إنا نشكو إليك فقد نبينا صلواتك عليه وآله وغيبة ولينا وكثرة عدونا وقلة عددنا وشدة الفتن بنا وتظاهر الزمان علينا فصل على محمد وآله وأعنا على ذلك بفتح منك تعجله وبضر تكشفه ونصر تعزه وسلطان حق تظهره ورحمة منك تجللناها وعافية منك تلبسناها برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. زيارة اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك يا رسول الله. السلام عليك يا حبيب الله. السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب. السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين. السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله الحسين. السلام على 9 المعصومين من ذرية الحسين. السلام عليك يا صاحب العصر والزمان. السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن. السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجان ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليكم يا أهل بيت النبوة.